And gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm sure everyone's recovered from the hangover. Keith here from Come On The Hoops. This is your first time coming across the channel. Like and subscribe below. Be really appreciated if you can. We're going to talk about one player that we're heavily linked with at the moment and players that could leave the club in this coming transfer window. It is around 12 days away until it opens. And Brendan Rodgers, I'm sure he's working on the targets in the background with the likes of the board. We want to push forward. We want to make this a magical season, and the way you do it is get the right players in that suit the profile, that suit the culture, that willing to fight for the jersey. Not players that are too busy posting on Instagram, watching teams in Honduras, than watching their own team play a crucial match. Players like that, do you really want them? I don't even label them as a player. So let's kick it off. Stephen McGowan, a really good source for the Daily Mail, reports that Celtic are looking at Royal Antwerp winger Michel-Ange Balikwisha. Now, I've discussed this guy on the channel. I know a little bit about him. So he's 23 years of age. He's been capped for Belgium under 21s. He can declare and play for the DR of Congo if he wants to. Or if he gets that chance, he could declare and play for the likes of Belgium. You know, a decent team, really decent team. He started his earlier career off at Stade Liège, and then he got the 5 million move to Royal Antwerp. And look, at last season he had a really good space there. He has Europa League experience, he has Champions League experience in there. They were valuing him during the summer for 10 million quid, and since then he hasn't really played much. 126 days out on the sidelines, picked up an injury, but since the 5th of December he's played 3 games, which is accumulated of around 150 minutes. Hasn't scored a goal, hasn't provided assists just yet. And Celtic have been monitoring the situation and they're interested in bringing in this winger. He can play on the left, play on the right, and it means it's ammunition for Days and Maeda and Nicholas Keown. Let's be honest, is Lewis Palmer the answer? 95% of Celtic fans are going to say no. Look, at Lewis Palmer, it looked like a promising aspect last season, scoring the Champions League, scoring big goals, but he just went out the face of the earth. Too busy dancing on TikTok, too busy watching Honduran football while Celtic are playing the same time against Hearts. I don't want players like that at the club. If he's not willing to fight for the short and realise what type of height he is at, like the magnitude of Celtic, he's not good enough for Celtic. Simple as. Brendan Rodgers always talks about culture, always talks about work rate, always talks about man management, always talks about development. And if this guy is nowhere there and he's considering these options, let him go back to the Honduras, let him go to the MLS, because it reports that a handful of clubs aren't interested in him. The MLS season doesn't kick off till around the end of February, start of March. And if they were to put in a bid of 2.5 million, easily let him go. Easily let him go back over that side of the pond. You thought he was a celebrity over in the US when we were playing them pre-season games with the Latin American fans. And look, I wish him the best, because he just hasn't hit the back of the net this season in the competitive football. Whoop-de-doo, he scored a couple of goals against Sligo Rovers, and people are like, oh, Palmer's back. Palmer is not back. Palmer hasn't even appeared this season, to be honest, at this rate. No contributions there. A couple of minutes, that's about it. Naroski wants a move away from Celtic. He's eyeing his options. I don't blame him. Came last season from Lake of Warsaw, around 4 million quid, and hasn't really featured. 5 minutes of football this season so far for Mike Naroski. And look, he's been in the Champions League squad and stuff like that, but I'd like to see him move on. Lagerbielke is over at 20. Let Naroski move on. If it's a low move, and let him get minutes and then assess it at the end of the season, fair enough. But I can't see him getting ahead of Carter Vickers, Liam Scales, Austin Trusty. You know, he was tipped to be Starfeld's replacement last year, and it just didn't work out for him. So I hope Naroski could leave Celtic. Stephen Welch, I feel relieved talking about this. I know it should happen. Stephen Welch was linked with a couple of clubs. Udinese, Hellas Verona. He's linked with a move to Bordeaux over the last couple of seasons, and he reports from Stephen McGowan that he is eyeing up a move from Celtic Park to get more minutes for the second part of the season. He's ready to have a conversation with Brendan Rodgers regards to him going out. If it's a loan move for him to develop, all means. But I just think the whole Stephen Welsh chapter, it's done with Celtic. It was great that he came through the youth academy. He broke through with Neil Lennon's team. That season was a disaster. And, you know, he developed under Ange and he hasn't really played much under Brendan. He's been too many injuries there and there's better players ahead of him in the hierarchy. And look, I wish Stephen the very best. Simple as Greg Taylor, there's been no more talk regards to his situation, regards to the contract. A lot of fans before the derby want Greg Taylor to move on. He's been a good servant for the club since 2019, since that move from Kilmarnock to replace Kieran Tierney. Him and Bolingoli came in that window. And look, he's been a really good servant. There has been times I've doubted Taylor publicly, I've slated Taylor publicly, and there's times I've praised him over the moon. Said he's been one of the hardest working players that Celtic has had. And look, he's won trebles, and if it's a case that the package and the contract is not enough for him, what the club are offering, move him on. And I wish him the very best. That's no hard feelings. If he wants to talk to anyone in the next 2 weeks and agree a deal to sign for someone in the summer, let him go at the end of the summer. And, you know, players come and go, and simple as, you know, Taylor's been a good servant to the club, and 27 years of age, he's won, you know, big trophies, scored big games, and look, he scored the weekend. Yeah, it was a deflected shot, but, you know, he's a good guy, and I wish him the best if he does move on. I'd like to see him stay as a squad player, but if the contract's not suiting his needs and the club's needs, there's no level ground there, you move him on. There's been reports that Celtic are still interested in Tierney. Now, I don't know how accurate this is. I've seen other Celtic channels talking about Tierney, talking about when he was having a chat with Brendan Rodgers at the Celtic Foundation dinner down in London almost 2 months ago. Will Tierney come back to Celtic? If Taylor goes, I take Tierney back. Now, I know a lot of fans are going to jump and say, Keith, he's too injury prone. When he went to Real Sociedad last season, he was out for almost 3 months with injuries. He picks up injury upon injury. If he comes back to the club with a new sports science team, with him training with Arsenal, why not? Now, he's going into his final season with Arsenal. But Arsenal are looking for a fee from him. Are Celtic going to go out and pay 7 or 8 million for Tierney, who's 27 years of age? I highly doubt it. It would need to be a good level deal. If Celtic could even get him for 5 million, I would accept that. I just think we need leadership in there. You know, Taylor has leadership. He's one of the lads. He's been a part of a winning team. He's been part of a treble team. He's been through the difficult times as a Celtic player as well. And if you want to replace personality in there, you bring someone like Tierney in. Like with how happened with Joe Hart, you bring replacement in like Kasper. And I'm not completely against Tierney coming back, folks. I am a bit cautious about his injury record, but as a player, what he can contribute and what he could give to the club, we all know what he can do. Especially under Rodgers. Rodgers gave him that proper breakthrough season. Yes, he played a handful of games with Ronnie Doyle over 2 seasons, and then when Brendan came in the door, he gave him that left back position, and he took that from Izaguri, and he was unbelievable. So we'll see what happens. There's no other players that have been kind of linked to us. 1 or 2 people have asked me on the channel about Fili Coutinho, 32 years of age. Reports in Brazil that he wants to move back to Europe. He's playing for Vasco Gama. Look at Coutinho or Palma. If this Balikwisha doesn't work, I wouldn't mind Coutinho for 6 months. I think he worked under Rodgers at Liverpool. He was phenomenal, and I know that was like 10 years ago. But it's a guy that has a lot. He is one of the best finesse shots in the world. You can't take. You look at Fili Coutinho's goals for Liverpool. Fili Coutinho scoring for Bayern Munich. Fili Coutinho scoring for Inter Milan, for Barcelona. He has a wealth of experience there to do a job for us in the Champions League. So I wouldn't rule it out. I don't know how much reporting he would be on if he went to Celtic. Could be around maybe 30 odd, 40 odd grand. But we'll see what happens. It's just all talk at the moment. Do subscribe to the channel. Let us know what the story is. Who would you like to see Celtic bringing in this coming winter window? January transfer window. Who would you like to see? What position do we need to strengthen in? And who would you like to see, you know, leave the club in no, not in a harsh way. You know, at the end of the day, these are footballers. They want the best for their careers. If they want to go somewhere else and challenge themselves, leave them be. Leave them be. Once that contract is terminated, they're not your problems anymore. I know, like, bringing up Matt O'Reilly's. I know, like, bringing up players from the past that have done a job for us, but we'll see what happens with Balikwisha. Balikwisha is being linked with a move to Rennes as well, so ourselves and Rennes is in for it. So we'll see. Do subscribe to the channel. Speak to us all soon. Good night. God bless. Hell.